Hi, today's question has 3 answers, and the third one is a secret that isn't obvious when it comes to royalties. So let's get into this. The question that was sent to me was, what type of books help an author make most royalties? So this is a very common question because if you're going to be producing books, you're going to want to know exactly which type of books are the correct books for you. Is it going to be paperback, or maybe it's audiobooks, hardback books, ebooks, and then which distribution channels should you use? Bookstores or Amazon, or maybe you should go for other ones. So there are a lot of questions upon what type of book and also where they should be sold, but they hang together a little bit on that front. But before I answer the question, I just want to let you know this is Chris Baird from selfpublishingmadeeasynow.com. Go ahead and check below in the description and you will find my free checklist that gives you the secrets to making money with self-publishing. So you're not going to want to miss that. So go ahead and check that out and let's move on. So when I first started, I realized that there was an awful lot of options of where to publish and the way in which you'd be publishing. The different in terms of would it be a paperback or a Kindle or some of the other options that were available. The easiest that I found, that often it's best just to start with the easiest, so we don't start with the absolute most complicated, just as if we were starting with any task, woodworking or any types of sports. We're going to want to learn the basics first, and probably the easiest route to get into it. And in that case, that would be Kindle publishing. So I put out my first Kindle book, and very shortly after that, I then started moving into learning how to do paperback books, and moving along those lines, I sold it at a certain price, and it was maybe making about the same amount of money, and part of it was because I didn't understand the power of pricing when it comes to your Kindle books or your paperback, and particularly the paperback versions. After a period of time and listening to podcasts and such, I then realized that all of my books should be in audio format as well. But then comes the big question, which is which one of these formats is making the most money? So what is the answer? Well, the first is that it depends upon the genres. For romance, for example, your ebooks and your audiobooks will make the most money, since most people generally don't like going around with paperback versions of romance novels. But if we're talking about cookbooks, then that brings a different issue to the fore, which would be that people like when they're using cookbooks that they will actually open them up to specific pages, or they can follow along with their fingers as opposed to having their cell phone or their Kindle out in the kitchen, which is a little bit more difficult as opposed to flipping between pages. The second thing is that some people only like to read specific types of books, so they will only read hardback books or will only listen to audiobooks. I have cookbooks of the 170 books that I have out there. I have cookbooks in audiobook format, and people regularly purchase those books. Now, I wasn't even sure whether they would sell or not, but I understood that it actually, once you've learned how the process of doing audiobooks, it can be very simple, then there's really no reason not to have it in the audiobook format. And I started seeing sales on those books. And even to this very day, I am selling cookbooks every single day on audio format. Now, it's not completely clear to me how people are using those audiobooks, but they seem happy enough with them. Maybe they listen to it and then pause it. It's hard to tell, or they just like the voices of the narrators. That's also a possibility. So that's another one there, right? And some people only like to read paper, and some people like to only read Kindle. For example, I personally only enjoy reading with my eyes Kindle books. I don't like reading paper books because it's harder to keep track of where I'm at. And secondly, I have to carry it with me. Whereas with my Kindle book, I can very easily, as you can see right here, I can just pull out my phone and I can use this if I wish to see with my latest book. So the books that I'm currently reading, I'm reading them right off my Kindle app on my iPhone, which is plenty big enough for me. Once you reach, I guess it's the iPhone 6 and up. This is iPhone 11, perfect for reading on ebooks. But some people find that that's annoying, but you can control the font size and stuff. So if you have difficulty reading books in smaller print, then iPads and larger fonts on the ebook will also be advantageous. So as you can see, as we've discussed on the second point, different people will have their preferences, right? But which one of it? But we still are coming back to the biggest question, which is, well, so which format should you produce your books in if you want to make the most money? And that is where the secret comes in. The answer is you will make the most money if you publish your books in all formats. So we do not limit which formats our books are going to be in. We're going to put them both in hardback, paperback, ebook, and audiobook. The final question that many people still wonder is, but where should I put them? Is it on Amazon? Is it on these other sites? And the answer is, we're going to spread it out. We're going to have all of them initially on Amazon, since it is the biggest dealer in the world, publisher or corporation, in terms of if someone's going to buy a book, they've already got their account and everything registered there. So Amazon is clearly the first starting place. But then after you've got your paperback and your print, and also on ACX you'll have your audiobook, then our next step is hardback books will go onto Lulu. Okay, that's the easiest place to publish them. And then the third option is your other paperbacks. They will go through Ingram Spark, and that gives additional distributions. Now it's a little pricier because they will charge you $50 to review your book unless you're using a promo code, and you'll need an ISBN number with them. But that means there's going to be less competition. And so, as you can see, all of the different formats are the best way to make the most amount of money. Though in general, for the books that I have, the money is made through paperbacks. And most people I know also make the majority of their money through paperbacks, making, and here's another little tip, another little secret tip for you, making a minimum of $5 per paperback, regardless of how long it is. $5 per paperback, and if it's a bundle, make sure you're making an additional $1 for each additional book. So for example, if it's 2 books that are bundled together, you should be making $6 off of that bundle, never selling it below that, and that will give you your max profits, and you're going to raise the rates as you see the sales coming through. So what have you found? In which format have you made the most money? Has it been the paperbacks, or maybe it's the audiobooks? It varies from person to person, but most people I've spoken to have done it through the paperbacks. Now, go ahead and check up above, and you'll see other video answers to questions just like yours. Thanks.